What's up, YouTube, and welcome to my pickups video for January 2025. We'll say this was a very mild month for pickups, and I think big thing was I didn't do a whole lot of travel at all this month because the weather was really bad here. We had a pretty severe ice storm that kind of messed up things here in town for several weeks. Just did a little minor, driving around locally, but didn't make any trips outside of town really this month, so... Like I said, not a whole lot to show this month, but got a few things here. And I think, start off by just saying, I just got a PS5 Pro last month that I showed in my previous video, and then I bought nothing for the PS5 this month. So, still need to get caught up on a few titles there, but I just haven't pulled the trigger on them. But I did buy one thing related to something I purchased last month. If you saw my last video, I bought an adapter that lets you finally play Japanese SG-1000 and Mark III Sega games on a Sega Master System, which actually is a very complicated process because there's a lot of system hardware lockouts included in the US system that block it outside of just the hardware pinouts. But anyways, somebody has figured out a workaround for that. It's actually a very great adapter, and now I'm still starting to chase some of these SG-1000 games that I've never had a chance to play before. So I got a cool one from Japan this month, and this is Hustle Chumi for the SG-1000 Sega. This is a single-screen platformer, of which I'm obviously a big fan of. I have a lot of them in my collection, but this was one that really wasn't too on my radar until recently, and this was developed by Compile, which is the company that obviously made a lot of great shooters over the years, but this was their take on a very arcade-style platforming game. So outside of the wonderful artwork on the cover, I just have to give a big shout out to that. I'm a big fan of everything going on with this cover. This is a game of a mouse who must gather foodstuffs that are placed strategically throughout the level and then take them back to the sewer to snack on them. Very healthy and delicious. And so what the gimmick is with this one, and I'll show you the back here so you can kind of see just a single screen of the gameplay, is you have to make your way through the stage with obviously other enemies and obstacles in front of you. You do have the ability to jump, which is helpful on getting away from some of the enemies, and you can also stun them momentarily depending on the type of enemy. But what makes the game mechanic of this is there's a very interesting risk and reward system with this, in that you need to pick up between, 6 or 8 food items per stage to clear the stage and then take them back to the sewer at the bottom of the stage. But the way that it plays is that every time you pick up an additional piece of food, Chumi moves much slower. And so you can try to make a dash and collect all the food and take it back to the sewer, but that makes you much more vulnerable to enemies. So really the best way to play is to grab maybe 1 or 2 pieces, make a dash, take it to the sewer, then work your way back up the stage and start picking up some more items. So kind of very interesting. There's a lot of different ways you can play the game. It is very challenging. I would say by stage 3 or so, the enemy spawn rate, it gets a little bit wild. And then there's also some other obstacles that pop up that make the gameplay a little more interesting. So, very cool game. Didn't come out on any other systems that I'm aware of, but for an SG-1000 exclusive, I think it makes use of the hardware pretty well. The main character graphic is pretty weak, but the overall stage is colorful and all that. So, like I said, love the theme and the colors and all that kind of stuff, so I could go on and on about this game, but definitely a cool game to have, and really neat to play this for the first time on US hardware. So that is actually, believe it or not, the only game I bought this month, but I do have a couple other things to show. So, one thing I got early in the month, this was an eBay find, but last year, I think it was, I found a box for a pretty rare Super Nintendo game, which is Imperium. It is a 2D shooter, vertical style, that you don't see too often, and the box was in really nice shape. I already had the cartridge in really nice shape, but what I was missing was the manual, and so, lo and behold, I found the manual on eBay, and actually got a really good price on this too. So, kind of an unusual seller. It wasn't somebody that had any other video game stuff for sale at all. They had just a bunch of random things, so I don't know where they found this, and they kind of blew it out cheap, but I was happy to grab it, because now I have a nice complete copy of a game that's pretty difficult to find for Super Nintendo. So, very welcome addition to the collection. And then my final pickup, believe it or not, that's it for the month, is a magazine. And this is one that I love to find, but these are very, very difficult magazines to get. I don't know what the whole story was on their distribution, but I don't think many of them left California. I think that being that it was published there, they probably just sold some maybe at local newsstands, and then very few subscribers that were aware of the magazine in the mid-90s beyond the area. But anyway, the magazine is New Type Gaming, and the first thing you might be thinking is this related to the New Type Anime magazine that still exists today? The story I've read is that it really doesn't. I think it just like had a very similar title, but this magazine didn't last a real long time. I think there's maybe like 8 or 9 total issues, and they kind of had sporadic publication for a couple years, kind of like Game Fan. It is a little bit more hardcore in theme, so it is very much like a Game Fan in that sense, as far as like the writing style and the games that they featured. This particular issue has things like Kyo Flying Squadron in it, which is kind of cool to see. And then, of course, we have to give credit to the very creative cover on this issue, with like a claymation or, I don't know what it is, like art project character from Primal Rage reading a prior issue of the magazine. So pretty innovative as far as how they did the cover on this. I did read the full issue. I think just, something I would call out is that the pictures in the magazine are very small, and the quality of them isn't that great. I don't think they had a good capture system down, like even some of the more major magazines did at the time. Even like Game Fan, that they kind of prided themselves for their screenshots. So it is kind of a shame, because they did cover arcade games in this. This is covering X-Men Children of the Atom whenever it first released as an arcade game. And then in the credits, it actually says, like, oh, we went to a Golfland location in California and shot all the footage for the arcade game, basically just like camera on the screen. So I don't think they were very high-tech as far as that kind of thing went, but the layout of the magazine is fine. The other thing you'll notice here is just, like, the text is tiny in this. And so if you need glasses to read, or reader glasses or anything like that, like, you might have to pull them out to read this magazine if you're getting on up there in years like me. But very unusual, like, kind of how the layout went. But as far as the coverage, I think it's cool. They obviously went to, like press events and things like that as well, just like most magazines at the time. I just don't think that the word got out about this magazine, and it kind of died a quick death. But they even featured like a few PC titles in here too, so they were trying to, be pretty ambitious as far as the coverage and all that kind of stuff that they covered. And then they even talked about Neo Geo games in here as well, which I thought was cool. So I would love to find more of these. I actually got a really good deal on this on eBay. The seller listed it up for auction style, and like I was the only bidder, and so I got it very, very cheap, which I was certainly willing to go a little higher on this one. So we'd love to find some more issues of this. It's just I have literally never seen any of these in the wild, and I think I only have like maybe 1 or 2 others in my collection I found online. So very interesting magazine, and would love to get some more of those if I ever could. But yeah, like I said, very small month for pickups, and that's about all I have to show off, unfortunately. So hope you enjoyed the video. Please take a moment, like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you think, and I will talk to you soon. Have a great day or night, wherever you are.